And I think we're live. All right, welcome everybody to another DoneJS contributors meeting. I've missed you all so much. I've had two bachelor parties the last 2 weekends to go to. I was in Portland and then I was in Minnesota golfing last week, and I never golf, so it was still fun, but I lost. I I went into the store because I didn't have golf balls, and I bought like three golf balls, which were like apparently the nicest ones for like $18. And then my first three shots, I lost the ball. So I like hit in 3 seconds of play, I lost $18, and then I bought the cheapest balls I could find after that. So if you've never golfed before and you golf the first time, buy cheap golf balls. Don't think you're gonna hang on to them for very long. You learn other things, I guess, at DoneJS contributors to me. Anyways, my status. So I spent a lot of time doing documentation around on can components, some improvements around can set, a lot of other stuff that you can see on the other kind of CanJS site that we're working towards. I made some changes to observer_reader.get and set, so now there's kind of like a uniform way you can read and write to kind of any value, no matter what the value is in CanJS. That's like a nice low-level stuff if you're implementing things and you want it to work with both maps and the new define maps. I also fixed some problems with local storage. With the local storage can connect, and then I do want to talk about a little bit the view model and view model changes, APIs for can components. And then next week, everybody is going to be together. We're going to be working on some example apps, sharing some ideas on how to build 3.0 applications. And I also want to talk about the paginate example that I worked on and how I built it and what I like and don't like about it. That's kind of a topic. So that's my status. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I've been working on worked on can jQuery most of this week. So can jQuery is our jQuery integration portion of it. Replaces can util jQuery from 2.3. Got it all working more or less, even though I now realize that I never try to build. I think I need to make like a little mini project that includes can jQuery and try to build it and see if that works. Hopefully it does. Probably does. But anyways, yeah, can jQuery it sets up like kind of the binding between our event system and jQuery's event system is more or less what it does. And then now I've also worked on the migration guide, which you can see on the site, and now I'm working on a short little presentation about Steel 1.0 and migrating to Steel 1.0 and some roadmap stuff for like 1.1 and 1.2 that we'll give that in Chicago. So that is me. Who wants to take it? Don't know if
Okay, okay, so I could go next. I don't have anything to report for this week, but I'm looking at some of the issues in CanUtil project. So there are a few issues which I was already working on. So I'll continue to work on those issues. So that's my plan.
Cool. Was there an issue in particular?
Yeah, so there is.
You're doing the Ajax thing, right? The board.
Yeah, but I think there has been a comment on that from.
Yeah, there was a comment on that, but I think it's still okay to do the duck punching. I mean, what is Ryan, I think, or something? I forget his real name. He's totally right in that it's not a good the way like cancel or whatever that he proposed is definitely a better solution. However, any solution is better than no solution, and I think we just say that this is like, this is. I think it's better that we just provide some way to cancel it because people are going to want that from their promise, and then they can figure it out any way they want to wire it up differently, and eventually we could make it so that Can Connect has kind of cancel tokens or cancel promises or whatever passed to it. But for now, I think it's just better to have the beginnings there. Like something there for people to use. So I think it's fine to do that, to just duck punch the AJAX method, to just duck punch an abort method on it that will reach in and call jQueries. I think that's fine.
So I think I haven't gone through this mail that the cancelable promises link that is being shared in this issue. So I'll go through this link and I'll continue working on this issue.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Prashant. Who wants to go next? Julian?
Yeah, I can go. So let me share my screen to show. So what I did this week is some stuff here. You see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did is, and maybe it's okay, maybe you can talk about that. So I make a pull request for can simple DOM. There was an issue that escaping HTML entities. So I put some ideas together and will. Yeah, so now we are not having the issues again. So maybe some tests here. So we're looking at the end symbol and it's escaping, right? So that's in pull request. Maybe Justin or something can say it's okay, and we can merge that into can simple DOM. Next thing is that usually it's in Steel 1.0 now, and or maybe also in the Steel 0.16. Usually you have to instantiate your CSS files if you put your CSS file manually in the head of the document, and you have to say instantiate it. And put the CSS file into that object. And Steel knows that and don't load the CSS file again. Now with the new Steel CSS plugin, you don't have to write an instantiated CSS file anymore, and you can put your CSS file in your head, and Steel will look for that and don't load it twice if it's found the CSS file in the header. So you don't have to do that thing in Steel 1.0, and I think also in Steel 0.16 that's fixed. So it's
awesome. That's sweet. That's cool.
Maybe next thing, and that I talked to Kevin. Yeah. He wrote that loading script from CDN guide, and maybe here we have to figure out, because sorry, not here, because here we have to figure out you don't have to put, maybe Kevin did it, and it's working for him. But usually you have to put the module name into as a name of the object, and if not, it will not loading right, and if it's failing. But maybe we can simplify that again a little bit, that the user don't have to write a default and use default true and all the stuff. Maybe it's another feature we can do with instantiated. Next, I do some documentation stuff for Steel tools, and last but not least is the bundle parameter for Steel tools. There, maybe we can talk later after all you guys give his status. We can talk about that, and maybe I'm doing something wrong here, but that's for another talk. And the reason behind that is that now you can't do things like that. Let me show tests. Yeah, if you make a bundle and you can't use the glob or a glob finder in array or something like that, that doesn't work right now. And with this feature, or with this pull request, now we can use the glob as, or we can use array with globs and find the modules we want to bundle for Steel.
How would that work if you had like mappings or something like that?
Never mind, because a bundle module will open and will make a dependency graph. So the bundle is not that bundle. You think about is system bundles. So system bundles is the object where all the bundles are together and write out into the build file. But bundle is only a object that say, okay, here we have a file that we want to make a separate bundle, right?
Well, yeah, but it's like the bundle is based off of the dependency graph, right? Like it adds to the dependent. If I can say here's my main, and then I want to like also create these. I want to import these kind of other entry points and make bundles for them. Like that's like a module name that has to get passed in. I don't know how like a wildcard.
Well, we've had this feature for a while, but it never worked with npm or.
Yeah, I guess how does it work?
Well, this is my opinion on it. Either you put in a module name, which goes through normalize and does all the normal module name stuff, or if you're going to use the globs, well, then that needs to actually point to something on the file system. Like I think that's the only way we could support globs.
So
like you can't do both.
Okay, so basically we're gonna rely around like some assumptions that your paths that glob is gonna match are gonna have like normal modular name. We can determine the module names from those file names.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's what we're relying on that, right? If someone had some weird map rule, then things could get crazy.
Right, because weird map rule. Well,
let's say I mapped path, foo star to bar star.
Well, once it goes through here, it goes through normalize. So after it finds stuff, that string then gets normalized.
But you have to find stuff. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's my point. I understand that. That's why things are going to be weird. Let me just pose a quick example. See if I can explain it. Let's say you had a mapping from foo star to bar star, right? That means presumably all of your paths would be bar in the bar folder, right? That you would use a glob. The glob would have to use bar star.
Okay. Yes, right. Yeah.
But really, all of the main entry points should be using foo.
I think I see what you're saying. Like the entry points need to be unnormalized.
Yes. So you basically have a constraint that essentially you have this like these, I don't know what you want to call them, normal or like regular-ish. There's no pathing or there could be no configuration on these module names. Like
Okay.
they basically have to line up where whatever the module name is, that needs to be equal to the path from the base URL.
Right. Yeah.
For a glob to work. And that's okay. That's a fine constraint. It just should. I think that's an okay constraint. I think.
I don't. I'd rather just drop the feature. I'd rather not have a feature than have a feature that's like hard to use.
I don't think
Or
it would be
hard to
hard to
explain
use because I think it's a feature that like 90% of apps would normally. It's rare that you're going to be progressive loading something in like a node modules folder or something like that. And even that we could figure out. I think it's pretty common where you just say, I want to be able to progressive load everything in the
Yeah. I get why people want this.
Yeah.
But it's module names and files are not the same thing. So
it's
the
too bad there's
situation.
not a the thing like CanRoute has is bidirectional routing rules. It's too bad
Can't unnormalize things.
a module system you can't unnormalize. You can't say, hey, given this path, what has to be? There's one module name for it, which maybe is why they're going with URLs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they have the same problem too, still in their setup. But that would be an interesting. That would solve the problem. Maybe it is solvable.
I say drop it, Julian, until we can come up with a good solution.
Really?
I don't know.
My concern is people are going to use this. Is always my concern. People are going to use it. They're not going to understand it. They're going to ask on Getter, and we're just going to answer the same question on Getter all the time.
Yeah, but only what only the bundle do is, but we need it maybe sometimes. We need
It's
it.
very desirable. I understand, but can we come up with like a good solution for this that's not hard to understand?
Wait a second.
Or is it just not hard to understand? I'm exaggerating.
Wer ist runtergefahren?
Ja, weil Benutzerwechsel, ich weiß nicht, ob das noch rechnet.
Ich
I'll mute you real quick, Julian.
Sorry.
I've got a theory on a solution.
So, but let me recap. So we need the bundles for progressive loading. If we have something like that, let me share, and I put it into the issue or in the pull requests. Let's say we have something like that. If you have a location, or if you have an if condition and say, okay, if the location has login, then import a module or import another module and so on. And this don't get Steal. Steal doesn't get.
Julian, sorry to interrupt, but I think we all understand the desirability for it. I think even Matthew. Grumpy old Matthew even gets it.
Yeah, for sure.
He gets it. So I don't think you need to convince that. But I think here's an idea though. Here's a way to solve it perhaps. And maybe full glob won't be supported. But I think we can do limited wildcards. What we could do is what if you could just create like a long ass token, just like something that's never going to be matched by anything else, just total random characters. And then what you're going to do is you're going to run that through normalize, and then out is going to come where that would be mapped to, and then you'll replace whatever was the star.star or of your globs or whatever, and you're going to replace that with the star.star, and then do an actual, and that way you might actually be able to kind of create your own reverse translation. Is basically you're gonna create an ID or a module reference. You're going to run it through normalize, see how things line up from what you put in to what you put out, and then with that, you could probably reverse it. And I would say that you could probably make a system. Now, it might not support full glob, which we probably don't have to do, but you could probably support wildcards and probably have like 99% of use cases or weird mappings that people might want to do totally covered. I think that would work. And if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, I can explain it more later.
Yeah, I think I sort of understand. We're using in the new plugins feature, which is coming someday. It has wildcards as well, and I don't think it's full globs. So might be
Because
able
wildcards are definitely something with like internationalization that we're going to want, and with feature detection kind of stuff we're going to want. Conditional loading, I could see.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like wildcards are a thing that we need to be prepared for, and I think that what I just mentioned is a good solution. It's kind of like we're running the equation through, and then we're just going to try to reverse it on our own. I'm sure there's problems with that.
What I don't want to do, and that was my only issue with your pull request, Julian, is I don't want Steel Tools to like know about the tilde stuff, or I don't want it to like know about all the different normalization rules and try to like account for those.
Okay, but we can. But I'm sorry, I don't understand what's the problem about mapping and bundles. So if we make a bundle and we have an entry point for that bundle, the mapping is behind that. So the mapping configuration is behind all the bundle stuff. So I don't understand the problem of the mapping. And I give you right. Maybe we can drop the tilde and say, okay, put always the module path there and not a full module name like the npm name and the tilde and all the stuff. I'm with you, but I don't understand the problem with the mapping right now.
So the problem is something like this, right? Like, okay, so let's first take a step back and talk about how everybody's given their status, right? So we're in full-blown discussion territory, right? Okay, cool. So what bundle does normally is you say bundle, and you give it module references or module. You're giving it module IDs. You're not giving it paths on the file system. So I could say like I want, I want to bundle foo, or I'm gonna say I'm gonna bundle page A and
yeah, but it's a path on the file system. So you
maybe. But what if page A is I have a mapping or a paths configuration. So page A is in somewhere special / page A JS, right, or something like that. Then I think what you want to do is really, put these slashes in here. I mean, what you really want to be able to do is do something like this, right? And then you don't have to write this. That's what you want. So it's just going to find every page. What this is to the user right now is find every page module, and
which you can't do.
I might be able to do. My suggestion might be able to it can't solve this where you would have page B.
What I was thinking is just take off the wildcards, normalize it, put the wildcards. I guess you'd have to.
So hopefully, Julian, you can see this problem right here, where if you had these kind of paths and you did this kind of stuff, because we need the module, and we need to know the module's name, this kind of situation wouldn't work if someone had some weird configuration.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Why this?
Yeah, but okay. So we are looking on the file system for page slash and on so on, and but we didn't find it because we have mapping page A to a special directory that don't map the bundle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So I understand that.
Okay. So that's the problem, is that these need to be module. We need to know all of the module names because those are like the canonical unique names. Now there's maybe like one or two solutions to this. One is the easiest one is just to say you can't have any of this kind of stuff, and then you have to have these, like I said, normal relationship between your module name and your path. So
Yeah.
if you want to do something like this, you have to have in your base URL, from your base URL, you have to have page/AJS, and these things have to exist on the file system. It just has to be
if you're using directories.lib though.
Yeah, so that creates now this is what Matthew's concerned about, is that as we create more and more potentials for configuration, then Steele needs to know how to kind of reverse this. And that's a problem. Now, I think that there might be a solution where if you did a wildcard like this, a halfway solution might be to, well, it wouldn't work with this, but it would work with like directories of that lib, and it would work if they had page A, if they had this kind of situation in their config. If they had this kind of situation, well, what we could do is we could do something like a system.normalize some crazy like page / not quite that, and then if that comes out as like, base URL somewhere special, this could get us
.js and then remove the special stuff.
Yeah, this could give us some kind of translation that would cover, like I said, a lot more scenarios. And then, yeah, we would just say, like, you can't have special one-off configuration, but you can do all of this kind of star configuration, and it should work. So that might be an intermediate. If you wanted to get even crazier, you could, yeah, you'd have to do a lot of, like, Steele tools would then have to take over and understand how Path does its thing, have a special version of that where it's going to, like,
Yeah, but I'm thinking we should restrict the behavior of bundle. It should always catch the file on the file system they match with the path they are given on the array of bundles.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with you about that, Julian, is I could see a big need for wanting to, like, hey, you're going to work on page foo, and you're going to publish, that's going to be its own project, and it's going to have its own version of stuff, right? And I could see very much wanting to say, like, my bundles that I'm going to load are, I don't know, are different packages in NPM or something like that.
So let's.
But I guess there's no way of doing this anyways if they're all packages in NPM. So maybe I retract that, actually, Julian, because if they were NPM packages, you can't do something like this.
So I think you're saying this is similar to what I suggested, Julian. I think. So you're saying basically, if we're using some type of a match, remove that match and replace it with some type of special character thing, run it through normalize and locate, then get the result and basically put the wildcards back in to where they used to be, right? And then glob that, right?
Sorry,
I'm asking Justin.
All right, say that again.
So what you're suggesting, I think, is the same thing I suggested, which is take the string that you have, remove the wildcard bits, put in some type of special character, run it through normalize, run it through locate, and then put the wildcard stuff back in, and then use that to glob.
Yeah, use that to glob. I think that's a like a 90% solution, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But with that, we only support the globs and not the mini-my fetches or.
Yeah, we only really support star for the most part. Yeah, I think.
No, because anything else you could do star dash star. We would just remove.
But you can do weird stuff like this, and I think that would translate. Yeah, I guess you could do a.
Yeah, you just remove everything. You just pull
all
that.
Sure, maybe. I feel like there's danger there.
There is, and then that was why my original suggestion, like maybe we should not support it.
I think it's too valuable. I think it's just so convenient.
Well, I mean, not support it until we like feel more confident about it. Not never support it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm okay with this solution. I don't want it to. I don't want to try to do reverse normalization in still tools because that's just not scalable.
Yeah.
Julian, we're going to see each other like in 2 days, so maybe we can. Debate this.
Yeah. Because I'm not that happy about that. So
why don't you like this solution though?
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe I'm right. I give you right with that. We have dropped the tilde and the module name stuff. That's not good. I think you are right there, and I will remove that. But I think there is.
But the tilde would if we did this, the tilde would work.
Yeah.
So if we do this kind of setup, then tilde just works.
Yeah, you just wouldn't have to. You just wouldn't. Still tools wouldn't do.
And directories.lib would work too.
Yeah.
So I think that's the way to do it. That avoids Steele from having to know a lot of normalization rules. It just has this like kind of hacky trick to do this kind of weird replacement thing, and it gets so many of the normalization rules for free then.
So what's the trick? What I have to do? Sorry.
Okay, so the trick is you're going to take whatever is passed here, and you're going to say if it has a glob, right? If it has you're going to identify if it has a glob, like this does, right?
Write it up in steps.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah, please.
So figure out if we're going to call.
You can just use examples. You can just use examples.
Module ref.
Yeah.
If module ref has is a glob, then we're going to replace glob parts with some type of token. So
what's about this glob as a star/star? What's about that? About?
I know. That's why I think that I don't know what you're going to have to do there, but I would just say that's why I think we should limit
just remove everything
supported.
Just remove everything after the first star. Is what I would do.
I would that's why I don't think we should support full globs. I think just a limited subset of glob, and you could just do, glob part A, and you just have some kind of some name or something, right? Then you're going to call system.normalize. And that might give you back, base URL somewhere.
Well, normalize won't. You have to run it through locate as well.
Oh.
Normalize and locate.
And then you're going to swap back. And then now you have your rule. Now you have you kind of have a rule that goes from kind of a function that goes from every path here. What is the module name? So what you can do is then you can run your find files, So maybe you found page a.js. So maybe you found, actually, sorry, it's going to look like this. Maybe you find a.js, and then you're going to use that to reverse to module name, which is going to come back out page.js, and that's what you'll use for your actual bundles.
Okay. So we don't support full glob, right?
I don't think we should support full glob. I think my guess is that maybe it's possible to support a lot of glob, but I think it's just. I think you can support two things. I think you can support like any file or folder, and I think you can support any. I don't know. You might be able to support. I don't know how much of glob. I don't know. You're gonna have to, considering this equation, you'll have to think about it, and it's beyond my mental capacity to just instantly know.
So what does page/star match? It doesn't match subfolders, right? It matches only the files.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming right now. But
that's why I'm thinking like just anything after the first star, you're just going to take that part out. That's the part that you're going to take out. You're not going to take out individual stars. You're going to take out everything after the end.
But the main issue that was posted into GitHub was that he wants to use a full glob and find all subfolders with files there. That was the main issue.
He wants to use star star dash star.
Yeah, he wants.
I think that's fine. I think you can manage to make that work with this setup.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I just think you have a limited subset of glob. Like maybe you can match star, and maybe you can do star star. But there's like a limited. There's only like a certain kind.
Well, why
of
do you think
glob
there's a
allowed.
limited?
Because there's like stars. Like I mean I don't know. I've just written such complex globs for like.
I know, but why can't you just take everything after the first star?
Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like that's.
Yeah,
I think we've gone far enough for this conversation to like have an idea to try out, and then everything else at this point is like.
Experimentation.
We need to experiment a little bit and come up with a solution. But I think this is an approach that potentially solves having to have Steel know how to reverse every normalization rule. In this way, we're just kind of we're making our own kind of solution to that generic solution.
Okay, I will try that. Yeah. And if not, I give you feedback tomorrow.
Cool. I mean, this will actually be useful for a lot of things.
I have a quick other issue. I just thought about this when Julian was going over his stuff. Should 1.0 have CSS plugin and less plugin? It does now. Should 1.0 include the CSS plugin and the less plugin, like in Steel itself? Should it continue to do that, or should we drop that?
In 1.0?
Yeah.
Probably.
And you should implement it with a module, right? Or how do you implement that?
Well, you can already just npm install Steel less and use it. Like, we have done CSS, which is not included in Steel. I'm just saying, should we just remove it from core?
Yeah, I don't see any problems with that.
I mean, I kind of do. Like, what is it going to require people to do?
Just use npm.
Steal less? I guess is that.
Yeah.
Using the module, right? We put as a dependency as in Steel, or maybe not.
No, I'm saying not.
So you're saying so it's not a dependency anymore. So you have to
install it yourself
manually.
Just.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm good with that. Yeah. I don't think we have any needs for that in Steel.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, we can debate it. I'll create an issue and we can debate it.
I don't really care that much, so my preference is that it stays, mostly because it just makes like nicer demos for people. Just like, oh, you can use less right out of like the gate.
Mm.
But I don't care that much.
Okay. Any other topics?
Yes, I had them, but now I forgot where they were. Here we go, in the forums. So I want to talk about my paginate example, and let me see here. Let me show it, and I will discuss the problem and why I think it's gross, and just postulate or just see if anybody has a good idea on a solution here. So I have this grid here. It's going to be at localhost, DoneJS demos, and component paginate. Okay, so I have this, and you notice here it's like this is the kind of pure pagination. It's like tells you how many pages you have, only loads 5 of them at a time, and you can click the next button until you're at the end. You click the previous button. Now, this was always like the problem with this is that I wanted to make a pagination model that lets you know if you can or a view model, if you will, or kind of in some ways it's a view model, but it's kind of like its own self-contained pagination type, and it lets you know if you can go next and previous, and lets you know which page number you're on, and it has just like a lot of nice functionality. Now, in order for it to work, it needs the count. It needs the total. It needs the limit, how many total number of items you can load, the offset where you've started loading, and it needs to know the count, how many total there are. The problem is the limit and the offset, they are kind of from the UI. They're UI state. The count, though, is data. That comes from the server. So making a type, like a view model-ish type, that can manage this is kind of awkward in CanJS. So let me show the way that I did it. Oh, this might be too. I'll keep it big. So the way that I did it, which I'm not super happy with, but I don't really know of a better solution, is the first thing I did is I made paginate work by being able to accept a compute as its value. And I'll come back to that in a second. So what I did is I have the application view model, which is kind of loading the data, and it's loading a list of websites, and it gets their using the paginate instance is limit and offset. It's going to get a promise that contains the websites. Now, I made it so that can fixture, besides returning the data for each website, is also going to return the count of the total number of websites that are like in the system. So there's if there's 5 pages of 5 or something, I think there's 16 or something total or something like that. Last one has only 1. So it's going to return data like this. So what I want is the paginate's count to be able to be loaded from the website's promise, the value of the value of the array, that the object that's kind of the array of websites that's returned, and the expando count property on it. So this is how I set it up, is that, yeah, the app view model has a paginate control that it's creating. The paginate control in some ways controls this limit, is what's maintaining this limit and offset that we're using to get the websites. But then when we get the websites, we need to set it back to the count. And this is so all of these methods here can work. Offset, what page we're on, or
can we go? What's the problem with it though?
Can we go next, or can next and can prev?
You just don't like the compute thing?
Yeah, I don't like that. It's a weird chicken egg problem, and I'm trying. I try to think how would if event streams solve this? and
Yeah.
other things, and I just
So it's because we don't have the value yet, because we're like setting up bindings for stuff that doesn't exist yet, right? Is that the problem?
sorry, say that again.
Is your problem more that like we're binding the properties that have not been resolved?
Well, I guess what my problem is that I like it, especially with the event stream stuff that we're trying to add, is that I like it if a property's behavior is defined, if a property is derived from other values. I like it if that property's behavior is kind of defined where the property's behavior is defined. Like here, there's count is not defined as kind of having a relationship to the data that comes from. If you think about it, count is really count, and maybe what I just got wrong is like count is really derived from the promise, but the promise is derived from the limit and offset. Right? So there's like this weird in between where you have your website, it gets that uses the paginate, and then the paginate uses the promise to fill out the count. And then the paginate uses the count to let you know if you can go next or go previous. There's a weird cycle here, and I don't know the right way of getting out of it. And I don't like that feeling. It feels gross to me, and I don't know what the solution is. So I guess this is what I'm going to be thinking about, haunting my dreams for the next couple weeks, possibly.
So you think streams would make this a little bit better?
No, I don't know. I really don't know. Not streams in the way that I have it right now is because like you'd still have to produce an event once this website loaded. Like you'd have to have like a stream. What you would do is you'd have a stream for knowing when this. Streams wouldn't make this better because I think that it's the only way this gets better, and I could make it better too, is if I move the website list. If I had a data property here, now I could do, like you could have your data. I could have a data property defined, and I would when I created the paginate, I would pass it something like website model website, and then I would have my promise, and then now I can now it's contained because now I would define the promise as using this .model.get list, and you would get the this .offset, this .limit, right, is offset and limit. So now that this has the promise, and maybe that's just what I should do, but it feels weird putting the promise in here. Maybe that's what this to me now. Okay, now I could actually define count. I'd use event streams. I need event streams to do it, but I could define count. But event streams in the like now I could with event streams define count inside here, but it's only by moving promise in here. The problem is I don't know how I feel about adding the promise in here. To me, it feels a little like I'm making paginate do more than what it should do. Paginate just like I wanted to just have the count, limit, and offset. I feel like it shouldn't be hungrily consuming these.
I mean, a paginate probably shouldn't exist until you have websites.
No, because you need a limit and offset.
Oh, it defines the limit and offset.
Yeah, and it maintains those.
So you have to do it before the website.
Yeah, you have to have a limit and offset before you can actually get your websites. So there's like this chicken egg problem that it's solved by moving the promise inside here. And if it wasn't for me using, the fall through cache, I mean even this could be implemented like this. I could just have a count be this dot promise dot then and then I would get, this is the websites, and I would just do resolve with websites.count.
Mhm.
Why does the fall through cache make it so you can't do that?
Fall through cache makes it so you can do this because the fall through cache doesn't supply count. So this is actually going to be set after once the response returns. This is like another problem that's eventually going to have to be solved. Like that's a really good, it's a really good question, and I'll show you the problem. Like it actually kind of is another problem with this that I'm also haunting my dreams, which is if I change, like, watch what happens if I set the fixture delay to like 2 seconds. It's because the fall through cache. Okay, you don't see 4, 2 seconds. Then the actual response comes and sets the count property because the fall through cache doesn't store that kind of metadata. And there's not really a good way of making it do that. Like I could hack around it a little bit, which I might do to just make count. But if there's any other metadata besides count, is like a special case where like I could actually supply it. But if there's any other metadata like count, it would not. I don't really know the fix. I have it. There's an issue where I kind of at least talk about this, but you can see kind of the problem. It's like next becomes unavailable because we don't really know. This is not a good, in some ways, if I were building this for a real client, I would have to drop the fall through cache, or I'd have to fix this problem. Pagination doesn't really work great if you have this with the fall through cache until that gets fixed. So anyways, that's what I want to talk about. Okay, one final thing what I want to talk about is this here. So I went now with view model and view model. The reason is what the hell? Ew. What the heck? Oh, you know what? Oh, okay, we're gonna have to figure that out.
It's a BitDocs bug.
No, it's a GitHub issue where, like, if you have a file named the same thing.
It only has one version or something.
It only has one version. Yeah. All right, that sucks. I'm just gonna change it to lowercase view model, the capital view model, the URL for now, because I've had to fix this before, and it's like I don't even remember how I did it. It's terrible. I think actually it's not so bad. I might have to just delete and check in, but whatever. Side issue. I'm doing. I realized that we were originally going to have capital view model and scope, but I realized that our scope method actually can't return a actual CanView scope instance. So that's why it's going to be view model and view model now. So this is going to be the, kind of, you can do whatever the heck you want in here, but you just have to return some kind of view model instance or view model type. And then there's the capital view model, which we're always going to assume is a constructor function, or if it's an object, we're going to extend the default map type. So that's what that looks like now.
What's the use case for the function? I've never actually used that.
When our bindings weren't as strong, or you wanted to like have some kind of binding on the element itself, like I forgot exactly what I've used it. I've used it before. Where I think I've used it once, where there was like I wanted, depending on like some other property on the component, I wanted one of 2 view models to be used.
But should we document that really? But because it's weird and users get confused about the capital and the lowercase view model.
Well, it is documented. What do you mean?
Yeah, why should we document the lowercase view model? It's confusing people, I think.
I guess I don't know. I haven't heard anybody really confused about that. Like
Yeah,
that's not like a
but that's not. There's no use case for that maybe, and the user think
there
what.
is a use case for it. I mean, I know that I've used it a few times back when I was writing apps more, and I know that like there's um, one of our clients uses this.
So I mean, I think most people are going to use capital V view model most of the time.
And that's
hopefully.
why I direct them that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess my only question would be, well, we're not going to like lowercase v view model is not going to work with like can map constructors anymore, right? Like that's
It does. I made it so it still will work
okay.
with that.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, so then lowercase v view model is the same as it's always been.
It won't
It just-
work. Yeah, it
doesn't
could
work
get
with-
tripped up.
Okay.
And it definitely won't work with like if you do a can define constructor, or you wanted to use a different type of constructor. That will definitely not work.
Would it work with a define map, or you just mean like a regular?
It will work with it should work with the define map, but it'll work
Sure.
with anything that's is map true.
Is map
So-
true? Okay. Is map like?
Or is map like.
Yeah. So as long as it's backwards compatible with the other version, then capital V is just like a new feature that we point people to, I guess.
Yeah, people should be using capital view model just because like everything is a lot easier when you're using that. Like we're just confident that you're past a constructor function here. Not as confident with this, which I haven't finished documenting this yet. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Julian, like in terms of the debate on when to document something and when not to, like generally speaking, I don't know.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is we have to minimize our documentation. It's all the stuff like the old CanJS API documentation, where a whole of stuff that never been used and whole of stuff that people confused, and they are looking at the docs and find too many descriptions for object or method that are never used. So maybe it's another one. It's there. Maybe we can have I saw that maybe I look in the Polymer or something like that, and they have a guide and a site where all the API is documented. And if you want to look deeper, they have a separate API documentation where all methods are there and all the API is deeper documented. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we should move it to another API site where all the stuff is documented, and the people can look into that if they want to find out is there another way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that our guides are more the solution for like when people are getting started, what they should be exposed to and what they shouldn't. I don't know. I think for the most part, like everything that's in here now, like the biggest one is gonna be like something like can connect with its huge amount. I mean, this is the biggest source of documentation. I don't think most of the others, like this is really a problem. Even like can component, like sure, arguably this is the one thing that's not going to be used too much, but everything else here
Yeah, right.
is really, you really do need to know about. And everything, I would say like everything else, like except for maybe not new instance here isn't used, or constructor extends. This actually can be removed probably. I mean, there is some stuff that we hide. I don't know. It's a I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know it too, but I want to. Oh, I didn't put. publish that lowercase u model because it's there, and maybe we.
I guess I guess my instinct is I would at least for now in the beginning. It's weird it has children. It doesn't have any children.
There's like a bunch of canned compute signatures that you don't really use very much, but when you do use them, they're really nice.
I guess I would rather err on the side for our documentation to be like exhaustive and then make our guides really focus on bring people through it and make that like here's what's really important.
What about the Gitter README? Maybe we can use that for more information.
I would say the opposite.
This has actually much easier. This scales with more information much more easily than the GitHub README would, because the GitHub README is one page. It's very easy to like pack in a lot of detail when you've got can component has like. I mean, imagine doing that with something like can connect. Like this would be, the amount of additional data that can connect has requires other pages and some kind of navigation through it. But I think this is what guides are for. I really do. I mean, I think that I don't know. I guess I think in some ways it's like it's good that you bring this up. I think what we need to do more of is our trainings where I'm not actually doing a training. I just need to like pull people aside and be like, hey, anybody got a new CanJS developer who's learning this stuff? Like, can I just watch them? I won't help them. I just want to watch them and see what they're doing.
Yeah, but
see what they're struggling with.
I think we can make a API site where all the stuff. But I think is CanUtil documented at the CanJS site? No.
Yes.
It's documented. Okay. And all the stuff of CanUtil?
It's
No.
supposed to be, but
Well, not everything. There's a lot of stuff in CanUtil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I mean, it should be, I guess, but
so maybe that's the point. Maybe we can make some deeper API structure in another site. So we have the deep looking API.
But that's why we have this separated, actually, Julian. Like that's why we have core and we have infrastructure now. Like all the stuff like node list, which was documented in the old site, like you don't see that because you're most of the time sticking around core.
Okay.
I don't want to make any like giant changes that's going to delay Can 3.0 coming out.
Well,
Yeah. Of course.
Well, I think it's more like I think to me I would rather have us spend time figuring out like I don't want there shouldn't be any API public like to me there shouldn't be any public APIs that we don't stand behind that aren't meet some threshold of usefulness times. I guess to me there shouldn't really be anything that is in this hidden documentation because then I don't want to support it. If that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of methods in, like, can observation. There's the whole reader API that's inside of this. And can observation has more things than this, too, especially on instances of can observation. But I don't want to, and there's properties that are really important for can observation, but those aren't things that, like, they don't meet the threshold of either being, like, stable, nice APIs that people should use, or they're APIs that people should use. Like they're neither of those, so we should never document them. I think our goal should be documenting only the things that like are good and people are going to use, so that we can more easily maintain semver compatibility. Like can event has a lot of other things too, or not can event batch. But these are now the important things. So I guess I agree with what you're saying. I just think that can component meets the threshold of like, yeah, maybe not every app needs it, but when it's like, it's so there when you it's one of those like escape hatches. In some ways, like I don't even, like events. I really want to make it so events doesn't have to be documented someday. But
it's used a huge time.
it's used all the time. Yeah, you have to use it. It's just you have to use it at some point. Or helpers. Now that there's now that we have.
What about simple helper? I sorry interrupt you, but in Can Component we have that simple helper. Is that not anymore there?
Is it there? I didn't know that Can Component has simple helper. It's never been documented. If it has,
it's in CanStash.
No, he's talking about a simple helpers. Are you talking about a simple helpers property here?
Yeah, it's I thought it's having a simple helper property.
Let's check.
Because the modlet also have a simple helper, other than the modlet file.
It's not showing up.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it has one. This is helpers.
It's like a hidden feature.
Anyways, but here's the thing: simple helpers not really needed anymore, because call expressions make it kind of not necessary.
Okay.
So even helpers were needed more back in the day because like this is selected or something like that, or where was it? There's this is selected helper. Well, you could just put that on your view model now. You could just have is selected on your view model, and then you could just call that is selected method, which in my opinion is a much better way of doing it than using helpers. So, but helpers still meets to me the like I haven't actually in any app used a helper in a very long time that I've been writing. So helpers though still meets the criteria, still like view model. I think that's where our arguments should just be, is like, is this something that is useful enough and good enough where it's worthy of documentation? And just in my experience, view model meets that because I know of like 3 times at least where people have needed it. Maybe not in 3.0. Maybe it should be dropped from 3.0. There's a possible argument to be made there. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe we do drop it and then we could bring it back if people complain. One thing also I was talking about, maybe this should be view instead of template. Because then we'd have view model and view, and it would be like very strongly MVVM kind of terminology. And if we wanted to be really cool, we could have just a shorthand VM property and a V property. But I'm not going to do that. But I think that would be cool. All right, that's all I have. We went a little bit longer than I expected. Sorry for talking everybody's ears off.
It's all good.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else? All right. Good chatting with you all. See you next week.
Yeah. See you on Sunday.
Have a good flight,
Bye.
John. All right. Bye.
Bye.